There's been a lot of buzz around this new weird AI Minecraft project. You've probably seen your favorite creators or people on Twitter talking about it, showing all the weird things that they've come across while playing the game. From a first glance, it may look like Minecraft and it controls kind of like Minecraft, but it's a visual mess. Just turning away from something will completely change the scene. In one moment, you'll be in a lush forest, and then as soon as you look at a block of wood, you're suddenly in some weird, huge wooden building. Now, here are the things you can do in AI Minecraft. You can run, walk, jump, break and place blocks, and pray that whatever you made doesn't smooth out into the background just from looking at it. You can also punch the primordial soup beings that appear before you before they dissipate into the ether. You might be able to craft. You can sometimes eat. Just pray it doesn't turn into a dead shrub. There's also an interesting quirk where if you walk backwards and never jump, you can go on forever. Because nothing behind you is generated, you don't bump into anything. Once you go into the system, you will see a few different world types you can select, including this new option where you can put in your own screenshot and play it for a few seconds before it fizzles out. Me personally, I tried putting in a screenshot of my favorite game, Condemned.
The audio design is one of the best things about this game. It complements the visuals amazingly. Just watch this clip.
Come get you some crunchy, boy.
A total confirmation that you are isolated and helpless.
The screen just turned out blank and nothing showed up. So I attempted it with a actual Minecraft screenshot, and again, nothing happened. So at least on my side, it seems this function is bricked for whatever reason. Another issue people have is attempting to swim. I actually was able to swim for a few seconds. You can see me diving in and the seaweed coming closer to my character before it phases into whatever this is. Now, over the past 3 years, we've seen an intense increase in the capabilities of AI. AI videos went from this to this. AI music went from whatever this is to vintage AI parodies that your boomer family members won't stop laughing at. And now you can almost perfectly mimic somebody's voice with something like 11 AI. With all these different art forms covered, obviously the next thing that they were going to try and tackle was game development. And that's what Crusoe seems to be trying to attempt. So the question is, will AI ever take over game development? In the future, are you going to be able to make up a few concept images and then put them into AI that'll make the game of your dreams right before your eyes? But the question is, how will this all be useful in the future? What kind of games will this engine be able to make once it's out of its testing phase? And will it have any long-term effect on the gaming industry as a whole? Personally, I don't see this being used outside of small personal projects that only get a few dozen plays on itch.io or something like that. Assuming that you need images to make a game, you have two options. One, using AI to generate footage or images, and then putting that into the engine hoping it makes something decent, or creating all the graphics yourself and then putting them into the game. Even just making your own simulated gaming experiences on Blender or something like that, the amount of data that this needs to create something is intense. They use thousands of hours and probably hundreds of thousands to millions of photos just to create this. So actually making the graphics yourself is basically impossible. Your only realistic option is creating a bunch of stuff with AI and then feeding it back into the AI. The issue with AI is that there's always little imperfections. Even with really well generated images, it always seems to mess up these small patterns. And even if it's not a fever dream to play, where you turn around and your background completely changes, you're always going to be seeing some weird artifacting that wouldn't be present in a traditionally made game. It's a lot like Stadia in a way. For anyone who doesn't know what Stadia is, it was a gaming console made by Google back in the late 2010s, with the goal of allowing anyone to play any game anywhere on any device. Essentially, they had their own server room with a bunch of computers that would run these games that you would pay to play, and they would live stream the gameplay to your phone, computer, TV, whatever you're using, processing power on their side, meaning that you didn't need expensive specs to play your games, allowing their top-of-the-line computers to play the games for you instead of spending thousands on your own gaming hardware. The issue is that even in the best possible scenario where you're right next to the server room, you were always going to face latency or stream buffering. So even with a good connection, gameplay was difficult. The comparison between this AI model and Stadia is that even if the circumstances are completely right, you're still at some point going to run into some issue that you never run into with a traditional game with a normal engine. Obviously games have glitches, but they're a different kind of glitch. With AI, it would just look kind of sludgy, weird. Your gun might dematerialize or the story might change. I just don't see AI in gaming going down this route. What I do see in the future for AI in game development is an engine that has AI coding and AI 3D modeling built into the engine. If you want to make a fantasy game, just type in generic fantasy assets and generic fantasy map and it sets everything out for you. If you need code for a gun, you just put it into the ChatGPT like prompt in the corner, and in a few seconds the basics are already taken care of. If you wanted real-time reactions and accurate responses, there could be code to allow NPCs to use artificial intelligence to talk to the player through a text prompt or through their microphone. And the only job of the person using the system would be basic things like laying things out or sequencing where the levels should be or writing lore or placing in their own original models if they feel like it. The issue with AI 3D modeling at the moment is that it's not that great. Sure, it's impressive from a technology standpoint to be able to say like make me a 3D bust of a head, and it makes a pretty accurate looking 3D model. And while these might be good for the background of a scene in a 3D animation you're making, these assets are not game ready by any means, especially Firearm. Here's a comparison of a 3D model that I made based on this house and then a 3D model a AI website made by feeding the same image into the system. There's basically no flat faces on this thing. It looks like a wax model that's been put in the microwave. Let's say that everything here is ironed out, and 5 years from now, this engine looks amazing and you barely notice any issues. What will be the point of the general consumer to go out and play a video game if pretty much every game that's made on this system will all feel nearly identical? If you put it online, you'll probably get 10, 20 players. Maybe if you show your friends, they'll be like, oh, that's cool. But they'll never think it's super cool because you didn't really do anything. In the general gaming community, will steer clear of these projects and try to go for stuff that's actually made by people. There are still people who seek out things made the old-fashioned way. Sure, artists and game developers might not be making as much money in the future since all the scumbags are just using AI, but the market will never be completely phased out. Human creativity is not going to become the milkmen of human expression because of AI. So if you're creative and all of this scares you, I wouldn't let it get to your head. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Keep it gay. We'll meet again.